Well, hey, and welcome to the Becoming Better podcast. My name's Nate, and I'm so glad you're here. Well, on today's episode, Josh, David, and I sit down and we discuss David Upchurch's sermon. If you haven't listened to that sermon, I want to encourage you to stop here and give that a listen, as it will help make this conversation make more sense to you. On this episode, we talk about when the best time to go to Denny's is. We also answer a few of your questions, and then we dive into Sunday's message. Well, without further ado, we hope you enjoy this conversation. How's it going, guys?
Hey, pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Happy Monday.
Yeah,
Happy
yeah.
Monday.
It's Monday.
And in just a couple weeks, the dulcet tones of Jason will be the one welcoming you into your Monday
Yeah.
on Tuesday.
Yeah, sure.
So, fun story with Nate. This morning, so last couple weeks, and really I've been trying the whole summer, but hit and miss with the traveling and whatnot. Been going to the gym, 5:30. So I've seen John Keebler there. I'll see Freddie there. So it's been a good little, and then Bruce. I also see Bruce there, Weber.
Oh, yeah.
So good little Quad City hang at the gym. But this morning was a little different. We started midweek, and a couple of my boys wanted to meet. So I challenged them with like, hey, what time? Like, how you guys have football and like different schedules going on. So after school is a little hard, but what do you guys think? And they're like, let's meet 5:30 in the morning. And I was like, I can do it.
Wait,
But
how old are these young men?
they're sophomores.
Sophomores in high school.
In high
We're
school.
like, let's meet at 5:30 on a
Yeah.
school day.
Yeah. So they're like, let's meet at Denny's. It's like,
Oh,
it's-
okay. Well, no, I mean,
It's been a minute since I've been to Denny's, but so I told them like, let's do 6:30. And so this morning we met at 6:30 and we got to dive into the word and share a meal together. And then dropped them off at school and just was thinking about just my Denny's experience. Denny's has never been like a good, like I go to Denny's on purpose and I like leave like satisfied. This one wasn't that bad, but I still have like a lot of memories of like finishing work at 1 a.m. and going to Denny's.
I was just about to say that. I don't think I've actually ever ate Denny's in the morning.
Yeah.
I met someone here probably a couple years ago. They wanted to meet for breakfast
Yep.
and like, let's meet at Denny's. And I was like, all right, man.
Yeah.
But I'm just literally, as you're talking, I'm like, I don't know if I ever ate Denny's
It was always like
not past midnight.
Yeah, it was always a 1 or 2 in
And
the
I
morning for
only
me.
ever got moons over my hammy.
Yeah.
I knew you were a moons over my hammy guy. That's a good sandwich. You can't
Sourdough bread,
Yeah.
a little
Yeah,
Texas
a little
toast
egg.
kind of
Yeah.
little egg, a little Canadian bacon.
Yep.
You know,
I have two distinct types of Denny's memories.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was a young man, right, you guys know I pretty much grew up with my grandparents, right? And when we lived in New York, we would take road trips pretty often. So we drive to Florida maybe every other year. And then like sometimes on the weekends we drive to like Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is just a few hours away from where we lived. And like they had a lot of free time because they were older. So my two different versions of Denny's memories were when I was a little kid. It was my grandfather's favorite place to stop on a road trip because its breakfast was dirt cheap.
yeah.
Remember the Grand Slam was $2.99
Yeah.
for years.
I mean, it's still relatively cheap.
I think I paid
Yeah.
$14
That never
for the
mind.
Grand Slam.
I mean,
Yeah.
compared to other
Yeah.
places to eat out, it is still an inexpensive place to eat. But like in the '90s, it was literally like a family of four could eat for $23. You know what I mean? Like it was crazy. So
With tip.
with
Yeah.
a tip, yep. So I remember stopping with my pop because I didn't really like sausage, and so he would always give me his bacon and take my sausage when I was a kid. Not because he didn't like bacon, but because he's just a good pop and he wanted me to have the good thing. And then in high school and post, it was always the place that was always open late.
Yep.
Mhm.
So like starting maybe my sophomore or junior year of high school, it was like we would go, me and the other theater kids would go to Denny's. We'd all order our waters and somebody would order some food and we'd play like board games for like 3 hours in the Denny's, which as an adult, I can see why they hated us and didn't want us to be there. But as a kid, it was like, hey man, it's a safe place.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, we can hang out.
Yep.
Unlimited supply of delicious ice water And if we're actually going to spend some money, we can, you know? So those are my
Interesting.
distinct two sides of Denny's.
Yeah, so
memory.
the small town we grew up in, right, it was only 8,000 people. We did not have a Denny's, but the town next to us had a Denny's.
Okay.
So you had to drive like 15 minutes
Yeah.
to get to Denny's, but that was where you would go. And then we finally, actually, I think after I moved, they got a Huddle House. I've never been there.
Woo.
You know, it's like the knockoff Waffle House.
I was going to say Prescott needs a Waffle House.
Yeah.
For my-
Again, even
so-
that, I couldn't tell you if I've ever eaten Waffle House not in the hours of like 2 a.m.
Yep.
to 5 a.m. because
Yep.
I only go there on road trips.
Yeah.
Yo,
and
but that's a Southern, that is a
It is.
staple.
It is.
Yeah.
And I always wonder why I have heartburn. I've talked about this before, I think, on the podcast, because
Yeah.
I only ever get hash browns with onion and cheese and chili. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
no
that'll
wonder
do
I
it.
get
Yeah.
heartburn. So, and it's 3 a.m. and I'm tired because I've been driving through the state of Georgia.
Yep.
I'm like, Waffle House sounds.
And you ate half your buddy's waffle because he got too much stuff. you know,
Waffle
it's
House
like,
sounds delicious.
Yeah.
7 cups of coffee that's definitely been brewing for a real long time.
Yeah.
So
Like,
Denny's feels the same way to me.
Yeah.
That, like, I don't know if I've ever been there in the hours of breakfast.
No.
I just remember
It's, it's a different experience for sure.
Yeah, it's probably a real grown up feeling in
yeah.
there. Like you probably felt like real, professional
Yep.
almost in a way.
well, you notice that everybody eating at Denny's is over the age of 65, except you. Like, and that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I bet it was not a young crowd. I bet you all skewed the age.
Oh, we did. We did.
Significantly.
Yep.
I love it.
Because they're like 6:30, been up for 2 hours.
Yep.
I'm gonna go eat.
Dude, I remember again.
Second breakfast.
Yeah.
Another lifetime, right? There were only a couple restaurants you could still smoke in as of 2011
And then
in a couple states, right? It wasn't every state, but South Carolina, you could smoke in the Waffle House.
oh, it's believable.
And I remember you could go get your biscuits and gravies in the smoker section at the Waffle House
So-
in South Carolina. Yeah.
Eastern Kentucky, it was, I mean, just until recently. I walked into a gas station. I don't know, probably 2016.
Yeah.
I was like, they're still smoking in here. It was like,
What?
yeah, man.
In retail?
In a gas station in Eastern Kentucky, they had 2 guys sitting at the table because it was like a.
That's
you
where
also-
the tobacco comes from, too. I
They
mean,
were
you know,
chewing a plug, like
Yeah.
a plug of tobacco, and then there was another guy at another table drinking coffee and smoking. I was like, "That's it, man. Stick
Yep.
it to him. You got to tell them
This is America
I will
right here.
not.
Yeah.
I will not be giving into this. I will go to a restaurant or a convenience store.
Yeah.
It still allows me to
Yeah.
smoke. It's where they hung out. And I
Yeah.
remember going, yeah, this. I wasn't even shocked by it.
No.
I was like, oh yeah, you're still smoking. Yeah, that feels
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Of course you would.
Yeah.
Of course you would be smoking. Like
Man.
no part of me would be surprised by that. And the Waffle House would let
Yeah.
you. Yeah, of course they would.
It was such a treat. Back when I cared about smoking inside places, right? You know, that's funny,
Yeah.
man.
That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah. The Denny's. What a memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, moon's over my Hemi. That's it. It's all Josh
That's
got.
the go to.
Mhm.
All
I
right.
can't eat anymore. It would probably kill me. All that.
It would destroy you. It's gluten crazy.
Yeah, that big old piece of toast. What'd you?
Yeah.
So what'd you get? You got the Grand Slam,
The Grand Slam. Yeah.
pancakes still.
Pancakes. Yep.
Huh.
So many years ago, I moved to the skillets, right? That's
Oh.
potato and protein and eggs and stuff. And like, that'll be gluten free.
Yeah.
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 Interesting. Nice.
Yeah. So it was an interesting morning. So let's jump in. We had David Upchurch here this last Sunday, and I think it's always a treat when we get him and just even the other guys we've gotten. But David, let's start with you. What stood out to you this last Sunday?
Yeah, man. I love the Isaiah passage that he brought to. And sometimes, in the end, sometimes we hear that passage in the context of, oh, you can do, because God says you will soar on wings of eagles. I just appreciated David's take on it, highlighting like the gentleness of God and the, even if you look at that and go, that's not me. It's like, that's okay. Here's a baby step to get there. Oh, that's not you. Here's a baby step. Oh, that's not you. Here's a baby step. Okay. You can't do that. Just sit in your father's lap.
Yeah.
Like if you can't walk, you can't run, you can't fly. I just really appreciated that, man. It was a really like, he's got a very pastoral tone anyway. And then like just to end on that, like, oh man, it's not always like this hype cheerleading machine of like, you can tea towel verse, do all things through Christ who strengthens you. Sometimes it's really hard to do anything. And God is
That's
here
the
for even those
second
little steps.
pastor
Yeah.
who's joined us, who's retaught the context of Philippians 4:13 because
Yeah.
Glenn did it too.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I really appreciated that. I thought that was a great way to end his sermon time, right? And kind of just wrap up our weekend.
Yeah, for me, So, so it's funny, right? We cheer all the time. David was my preacher when I was a little kid. I mean, little kid, probably wrong words, younger kid. I don't know if I've ever been little. I wouldn't describe it that way. So I was telling somebody the other day, all my kids, if they're always in the 100th percentile, this is me and David talking about it. Like, we're always, took Amos for a 4-year-old checkup, weight, height, 100%. Again, not shocking, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, so younger 7th grader. And so it's always great, the familiarity. But what's funny is, I was in there at 8. I didn't really sit in at 9:30, I don't think. I was doing something. But I was in there at church at 11. And he knew Jason was in the room at 11.
Yep.
So he took a little more shots at him, which was really fantastic. Which he made it so much more personal.
Yep.
Which I'm sure people listening probably made. But I was like, oh, he knows Jason's in the room.
Yeah.
Right. PV obviously doesn't know that if you're in PV. But yeah, Jason typically attends. When he attends, he just attends at 11.
Yeah, when he's here.
Coming. Yeah. And so he's in the room. He's a couple rows behind me. And he just took a couple shots at him. I just was like, yep, that's the guys who's worked together, right? Who has pastored him for a really long time.
Yep.
So it was really good. Yeah, I thought obviously the message of suffering. I mean, you can't really get away from it in Timothy, in Paul's writings. That's what he talks about all the time. I thought he did a great job of just leaning in and saying the things and kind of reminding us of, hey, this is what it is. Just kind of taught the verses. So yeah, I thought it was a good weekend. To your point, I always enjoy, hearing different voices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I know a lot of our people love David and love Up Church. And so it's good to have him this weekend.
Yeah. Jason was in my line of sight at that 11. So obviously following his manuscript and clicking through his slides, I knew exactly where he would be poking. So I clicked the slide and then just look for Jason and just see him just shaking his head in agreement.
Yeah.
So,
and then after church, what nobody saw was he sat down with 3 of our high school students.
Yeah.
And was talking to them about going to Bible college.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. That's what he does. What he's passionate about now is, trying to help obviously people who are on staff, who didn't maybe go the traditional route and go to Bible college and get that Christian education. But also he was talking to some of our students to help them navigate if they want to go into ministry and how Ozark may be a great choice. Again, just one of the things that our connection to him is awesome because of that too.
Yeah.
It's the after high school route for our kids to go into ministry. And so it was really cool to kind of see that table of those kids and they're trying to figure out, hey, is this the next step for me? And is this what God's calling me to? And so to have that connection is really great.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Just going in line with what he said of just, planting that seed.
Yeah.
Freddie and our team have been working with these kids and, just fanning that flame of what's next for them has been really cool. And just to have him speak into that
is
awesome. So
yeah, it's funny too because those 3 kids in particular, right? They were here before I got here, so even in the short time that I've been here, right? You see that spark, kind of catch. Whereas they're all great kids, but that intentional move to, hey, I want to actually do something long term for the kingdom. So cool. And then to have a connection with a guy like David who really is invested in connecting people to ministry in that way. It's awesome. They've got a leg up in that.
Absolutely.
Which is really, really sweet. And there's just one other thing I noticed just about the message itself. And it was a subtle thing. But, we always talk about how the message changes a little bit from service to service, right? You get a little bit more comfortable with it. You get a little bit more into it. And he did a great job not extending it, right? Not increasing the time. But I did notice it seemed like his delivery had more emotional weight the later in the morning it went. By the time he was finishing up that 11, it felt like he was almost pleading with people, to see the goodness and the gentleness of God at the end of that message. And I just thought it was really moving.
Yeah. One of the things is to talk about the passage, right? Is that's what verse 2 talks about. He didn't really spend a ton of time in verse 2 about teach. Hey, take what I've taught you, Timothy, teach it to other people so that they can keep it going. Essentially, that's what those students or the team is trying to do is how do we pass on what we've learned to the next generation so that it keeps going. So Dave Ferguson and John Ferguson, they started a community Christian church in Chicago, Illinois, like outside the suburbs, and now they have a whole church planting movement called Exponential. But their whole movement is based off of 2 Timothy 2:2.
Yeah.
Like, hey, take what you know and teach it to the next person. So how they do groups, how they do, and again, it's just the practicalness of what Paul was telling Timothy. Hey, I taught you something. Now teach it to somebody else so that they can teach it to somebody else, and so that they can teach it to somebody else. And so I did when he didn't, just because of time. I get it. There's always something that you are struggling to go, hey, what do I leave? And again, that verse has been taught so many times.
What hits the cutting room floor? Yeah.
And so, but I was like, oh man, I love that verse. I love the practicality of that verse is, hey, I've got something that's been taught to me. My responsibility is to teach it to the other reliable sources so that, again, the hope would be they can go out and teach it to somebody else who then keeps it going. So that's our responsibility that we have as believers is to keep that going.
And the cool thing too is, and just a reminder, I think for all of us is, like, once you do teach that one person, your job's not done.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to keep shepherding them, but you're also called, like, we see it with Paul. He has, he's sending letters to everybody, Colossae and just all these other areas. And he didn't put all his eggs into Timothy. Obviously, he loved Timothy, and he was like a son to him, and he cared for Timothy, but he also knew that, it can't all just be done with one person. He had to spread that out. So
absolutely.
What stuck out to me and what was interesting is when he was talking about kind of the story of the church and their prayer, that just really shook me. Just being in ministry, I've been in ministry for 5 years, and that wasn't the case for me. So the whole prayer of, like, Lord, you keep him humble and we'll keep him poor. And that just shocked me. And just the $15 and chicken and eggs for the payment. And I'm just like, man, and just knowing that there's some churches out there that it's still kind of like that. So I'm just grateful for this church and just the elders and the people here that have supported us and are allowing us to be able to make this a livable ministry and a livable situation for us. So I thought that was interesting and stuck out to me. So
yeah, I forget. Nate didn't go to Bible college. You didn't get to hear all those horror stories.
Yeah, no, not at all. So
I've heard way too many to make note of. And
Yeah.
so-
Well, I've had, same with you. Same with Nate. I didn't go to Bible college either, but boy, have I known enough pastors to hear the stories.
Yeah.
And ex-pastors as well.
Yeah.
too,
And it is. I would agree. I think it is trending in a different direction, but it's still, still the case, and still, but he's right. I didn't get in this to, get rich.
Yeah.
Like that was never the goal. But there is being able to support a family and take care of it.
Yeah.
There are some of those balances that come into play. And so, I've been gracious to be almost everywhere has been, pretty generous. I've had a few weird conversations like, oh yeah, well, I mean, like, this is what you should get. This is what I'm like, oh, okay. And it's weird to I don't know, ask for more, but everybody else in the world would do it.
Yep.
Or they wouldn't take the job.
Yeah.
But they kind of guilt you because you're it is there. I've had a few of those weird conversations, and I'm like, looking back now, I'd be like, oh, I'd handle that differently.
It is a unique
I'd handle that differently.
set of circumstances that surround vocational ministry.
It is 100%.
Where it's like, oh, if this were another job, anecdotally, right? I've known people who have left ministry, and then the rumor started about them was, oh, they left because they couldn't get enough money. And it's like, I'm not sure what the problem is with that. Like, they couldn't make enough money at this job, so they went and got another job. Like, why are we starting a rumor as though they've committed some cardinal sin?
Right.
Because they left this arm of ministry because they needed to be able to make more money for their family, right? So there is a unique set of circumstances around ministry as a profession that make it somewhat awkward anytime you talk about money, right?
100%.
And probably more than anybody, we get to blame the charlatans and the wolves, right? For the reason that has become so awkward.
$2 million altars and all that nonsense. Private jets. And
because there are ministers who have gotten it. Well, you can't call them ministers, but the world would, that have gotten into it to line their pockets.
Yep.
And then it creates a weird a weird vibe for everybody.
It does. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So awesome. Well, we have a question.
Sweet.
Today,
Love when we get
so-
questions.
Hey, it's the first question in a few weeks. So anybody who's actually listening, thank you for sending us a
Yeah.
question. Appreciate that.
So this is from Melissa, and she says, "Hello, would you guys be able to delve in a little deeper to 2 Timothy 2:6? Until today, it never occurred to me that this passage could be speaking to pastoral support. I often thought of the idea of focus, endurance, reaping a harvest when reading this verse, along with the previous verse. Would you have?" Would you maybe have some resources to recommend for further study? Here's to learning something new. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So what I would say is what we do have to remember is, and I think we've tried to say this all throughout the series, especially as we've been in now 1 Timothy and 2 Timothy. These are very specific letters written to Timothy. So anytime any of us are teaching this, where we are trying to give universal application, it is very specific to Timothy. Like, yes, can it apply to Nate and David and Josh? Well, yeah. We even more so us because we're in vocational ministry. Can it apply to my wife Diana, who is a dental hygienist who is just trying to serve? Yes, there are universal applications that can apply. But Paul actually had a very specific audience in mind when he wrote this letter. And that was one dude named Timothy who was a pastor. And so, David, we were talking about this before we jumped on. I mean, when you just keep it in context, when Paul says join in verse 3, join with me in suffering like a good soldier of Jesus Christ, he only means Timothy.
Yeah.
Yes. Do the rest of us are called to join in? Absolutely. Is there suffering that we're going to endure? Absolutely. 100%. That's why he can name those two guys that have deserted him. And Timothy goes, yep, I knew those dudes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he can name the one and go, oh, yeah, I know that guy. Of course he would do that. That makes sense of his character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the piece. When he's even in verse 2, hey, Timothy, you've heard me say things to you in front of many witnesses. Timothy would go, yep. I've heard you say a lot of things. Teach them to other people. Great. You know what I mean? And so that's the context. So when you go from verse 3, hey, Timothy, I want you to join me. And then he says, no one serving as a soldier gets entangled in civilian affairs, but rather tries to please his commanding officer. I literally think Paul, is looking at Timothy and going, not only is Jesus our commanding, but like, Timothy, I'm kind of like your command. So like, man, just keep working at this, son.
Yep.
Keep doing these things, right? Similarly, anyone who competes as an athlete doesn't receive the victor's crown except by competing according to the rules. Hey, Timothy, I've laid out what the rules are. This is what you're supposed to do. Yeah, run the race with endurance, do the thing. And then the hardworking farmer, which, side note, have you ever met a farmer who's not hardworking? I thought this was like a, when I saw that up there, I was like, I feels like an oxymoron. Are any farmers who are not hardworking?
I'm sure context matters, right? In an agrarian society, right? If 80% of the people are farmers, you can't assume 80% of them are
right. But in what we know of, like growing up in the rural community I grew up in, like that's what you call farmers.
Yeah.
Like it's of course they're hardworking.
It's almost synonymous. I see
exactly.
what you're saying.
Yeah. That's what they do. So when I saw that, I was like, well, yeah, of course. But again, the hardworking farmer should be the first to receive a share of the crops. Right. And so again, Paul for sure is talking to Timothy, endure, keep working. You will receive a benefit. If fruit, maybe not on this side, there also is fruit on the other.
Yeah.
But what we do know from context is from 1 Timothy is that Timothy is the double honor. And so Paul has talked to Timothy about the double honor that he should receive. Joe talked about that. I was in the sermon around elders.
Yeah.
Timothy fills that role. He's the preaching pastor, elder of the church in Ephesus. And so he should receive double honor. And so again, there is honor now. And also to what we were kind of talking about just a little bit is, man, I didn't get in this for money.
Yep.
Because there is some kind of reward that I know I will or I just help other people make it to I get to plant seeds so that people can come to know Jesus. That alone, but I don't see some of that fruit.
Yeah.
David's story. He's sharing with some guy randomly at the palace, which I've never been there, but he's sharing with some guy at the palace. He doesn't know if that's going to reap any benefit. He has no idea if he's going to get those fruits.
Yeah.
And I've seen some fruits. I have some. I may not. And so we have to remember that, again, the whole point to Melissa is this whole thing is not written to us as Christians universally. It is very much written to Timothy, and there are some applications that can be given to us universally. And so
and there are some somewhat specific applications too, right? You got to think like the tightest end of the funnel is Timothy, the pastor at Ephesus, right? Then, those who are in similar situations to Timothy, right? The preaching pastor, right? Then those who are in ministry, right? Then all of those who are in Christ, right? There is an application to all, but the most pointed to Timothy himself. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why most people may not have heard the context of that. Because as a pastor, you're trying to, if I was only going to talk to the preachers in the room, I'm only just usually talking to myself and the rest of the guys on staff, which everybody else is going to be like, yeah, well, didn't learn anything today.
Yep.
So our job as guys who are trying to teach the word is to go, okay, what does apply?
Yeah.
What are actually the things that would apply? So yes, we're called to endure. We're called to join Paul in his sufferings, right? We that's a part of being a believer. We see that in all of the texts, almost of the New Testament. Every letter talks about suffering. We know we're going to need endurance. We know we're going to do this. We know there may be fruit that we may not reap this side of heaven, but we should be the first to receive a share of the crops, right? And so there's some of those things that, it's Dave's point is the end of the funnel, really specific to Timothy, some not. And so that's how I would answer it. Anything you want to add, David?
Yeah, man. I just, I'm looking at, I was trying to think of complementary texts, right? That could jump in and, right, for verse 3, I think of like, if we receive if we are to suffer like Christ, we are also to receive a resurrection like Christ. It's in First Peter, trying to think, suffering like Christ and receiving a resurrection like Christ. Might be Hebrew. I don't remember exactly. I didn't have time to look it up. So
you're good.
Sometimes I don't get my references right. But the idea of the specific and the broad when it comes to biblical application of any text, right? Like what in this text is specific to me as a person versus specific to the original reader.
Romans 8, 17 and 18. Is that what the text is?
What's that one?
I don't know. I gotta look it up. I was just hitting old Googles.
8:17. That's
Romans 8.
That's before the no one can.
Now,
take
if we
us
were
from
children,
life.
then we're heirs of God. If we indeed share in his sufferings, in order that we may also share in his glory.
Yeah, that's similar.
It's
right?
similar. Yeah.
So yeah, this idea of suffering as a believer is universal, right? And like sometimes we have to kind of convince people, especially in the Western church, that like the suffering's it's prescribed. Like to be a believer is to know that there will be suffering in the pursuit of godliness, and right. So there's a piece of that in there that I think is helpful to all of us. And then answering your question, right? Just the thing that I mentioned beforehand, like Paul often does, he actually builds an argument in the beginning of this chapter and uses examples to reinforce a point, right? Join with me in suffering like a soldier. And then he gives an example of what a soldier does. He doesn't get entangled in the civilian's affairs, but he listens to his commanding officer and tries to please him, right? And then he gives you another version, right? Similarly, anyone who competes as an athlete doesn't receive the crown except by competing according to the rules. Reinforces that with the hardworking farmer, right? Paul is quite often building these logical arguments that if you just take a step out and you just look at that one step for a minute, you're like, hey, that's actually kind of confusing. But when you broaden it out a little bit and bring it into what he's saying, it makes a little bit more sense to the whole of what he's trying to get to.
And he's already told Timothy, when Corey preached, it was join with me in suffering.
Yep.
So he already started this idea.
Yep.
He just kept building on it.
Yeah.
But again, we heard sermons on 2 different weekends, and we don't attach them together.
Yep.
It's just because of how our brain works. They would have heard verse 8
of chapter
don't
1.
be ashamed, rather join with me. Boom. Great. Join with me. Then he just finishes the thought 10 verses later that says, hey, like a good soldier, like a good farmer.
State Farm is there.
Like an athlete. Hey, State Farm is there. Yeah. Join with me, son.
Yeah.
Son, join with me, do these things.
Yeah.
And so all of the analogies are to Timothy.
And when these letters would have been read to the churches, right? Because they're all passed around, right? They would be read tip to tail. And so this idea of that join with me in suffering, those two pieces would have been really closely linked together where they weren't for us. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing of just these would have been things, Paul would have been seeing while locked up. He would have had the Roman soldier, and he would have seen the farms, and he would have seen the athletes, so it would have all made sense because of just context of the time period and just what was all around. So,
right. And again, but universally, all of the principles can apply.
Yep.
Like a soldier, endure, stay focused.
Yep.
All of us need that message, right? All of us can use that. Like an athlete, hey, we're actually called to run a race, and there are rules in which we have to run it in. We actually don't get to just choose how we're going to run this race.
Or the route.
Yeah. Like we have to compete according to the rules. Because again, I think what the message has been from 1 Timothy into 2 Timothy, there are some who are trying to make their own rules. Mm-hmm. That's actually not what the gospel says. The gospel is very clear. It says X, Y, Z equals this. Not, I can add a little bit of this or take away that. Nope. You got to run the race according to the rules. And hey, Timothy, hey, Josh, hey, anyone listening, it's going to be hard work.
Yeah.
You're going to toil the soil, and it's going to be hard. You got to actually work the ground before you get the fruit.
Yep.
That's all of us. That's a ministry.
Yeah. And not all soil is the same, man.
No.
There are times where you walk in, and I think about there's a couple in the church that have been really sweet to me in my time here, and I remember one of my first conversations with them ever. The wife was struggling with the idea of baptism, and for some reason, when the Holy Spirit gave me words in that moment, that was what she needed to hear at that moment to take a step. And there's other people who you could minister to. There's a dude who goes to this church. We've been talking about baptism. Exactly. Same thing. 2.5 years I've been talking to this guy about baptism. And he goes, yeah, I'm not there yet. And he says he believes, so it's like there's this, sometimes you walk in right before the harvest. And sometimes you're just plowing rocky dirt. And it's the same ministry.
Yep.
And it's easier sometimes than it is.
And again, you got to put that seed in, and you just wait.
Yeah.
Patiently.
Yep.
Because the Lord makes it grow. And not in my time,
Yep.
but in his time. And so all throughout the New Testament, we see these examples. And so again, to a young pastor who is probably discouraged because the work is hard, I've been there. I get you, Timothy. His mentor, his father, is writing him when he's about to be gone to go, hey, just keep working, son.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. And you will receive a share. You will be nourished. You will be nourished. You will be son. It is, again, Paul, it is worth it, Timothy. Yeah. It's worth it.
Well, you're teasing next week too, a little bit.
And that's what he's saying. It is worth it.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful picture because again, you sharing the sufferings. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I would like not to. Like that. Who's reading this going, sign me up. Yeah. But I love that David started his message out reminding us that the biblical truth isn't applicable to all Christians of all time across the world, then it's probably not a biblical truth. So the health, wealth, and gospel don't play.
Yeah.
Because we're not happy and well fed, right? It's like, nah, man, that's not the case for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Our little millions in America is really different than most other Christians and their experience in the rest of the world.
Yep.
And so what our pastors are saying just doesn't fit. That's why when you read the New Testament, you're like, whew. Because even that is hard. I read about Paul being whipped and chained and beaten.
Shipwrecked.
And I don't have that context. So again, those are the things that we have to figure out. How do I make this apply to me? And the job of any pastor, preacher, teacher is to help take that text for you and make it so that you go, okay, what are the questions I need to ask of my own life?
Yeah.
So again, all those analogies can work because that's the essence of faith for all of us.
Yeah.
Again, the Isaiah passage was actually written to Isaiah to tell the people of Israel.
Yep.
Yes,
Very
people of
specifically.
Israel who were in the middle of a real tough time because a good king was dead and a bad king was coming.
And they
Like-
blew it too,
Yeah.
right? That's the
Yep.
other
Yep.
reminder. They're actually where they're at because of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one day, God will renew your strength, and
Mhm.
these things will happen, right? And it may not actually be on this side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but again, you take that and you can go, man, that's encouraging, because that, to David's point, that's the heart of God. So that's the principle that
Yeah.
applies. I don't really know if I'm going to soar like on eagle's wings. I mean, isn't that a song, by the way? Isn't that like an old Christian song?
I think so.
But I don't know if
That
that's
just makes me think you raise me up.
that's it. Isn't that the song?
I think so.
Little
Anyway.
Josh Groban.
Yeah. But again,
classic.
I don't know if that's
Shout out to
is that
Josh
really
G.
true? Am I gonna be on that eagle's back? I don't think so. But again, the principle is
Depends on how literal you like to translate.
yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah.
the principle is that the heart of God is one day He's gonna renew all of these things. And no, although you're weary now, because that's why I love the text. It starts off with even the youths, which makes me think of my cousin Vinny. Youths.
The
The youths.
What a throwback.
Yeah, but even they grow weary and tired.
Mhm.
Mm.
Of course, as you keep doing this faith thing, you're going to grow weary and
Yeah.
tired. But don't worry, the Lord will renew your strength. Okay, hold on. That's what He tells Timothy. Hold on, right? And so again, these are the themes that we see throughout Scripture. So I love that we get to apply these to our lives, even though I'm not the people of Israel.
Yeah.
Isaiah wasn't talking to Josh because
Mhm.
but God's word has been prevailed, so I can find the hope of the message that still continues and still does apply to
Yeah.
us. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. The hope of salvation, right, is always
Mm.
there and is most evident in Jesus.
Yep.
Right. All of those promises, all of the help is coming. It's coming.
help us
Well,
come.
we get to be on the other side of the cross and go, help's here.
Helps here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was there. They're
Mm-hmm.
hearing this message of this suffering Messiah who would come.
Mm-hmm.
We live on the backside that He did come, but yet still live in the not yet.
In the way.
Yeah.
In the waiting. And that's what's so hard for us as believers in this stage is we do have the Messiah who showed up, but it isn't all perfect.
Mm.
There is still suffering. There's still chains and beatings and martyrdom and like all of this stuff. And we sit in that, yet know that one day all of this will be made right. And so we have to balance that. And so I do love that even the songs we sang this weekend, Communion and Prescott, it was all pointing to this future glory.
Yeah.
Because some days that's it. That's
Yeah.
all I can think about.
Yeah.
Because it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, and he did make that call to people. Because in that room, I know, we all know,
Mhm.
there are people who are ready to quit.
Mm.
It is too much. It seemed unbearable.
Yeah.
And how do they keep going? And it is hey, just walk. Can't walk? Sit. One day, maybe you'll run.
Yeah.
It may not be today.
Mhm.
It may not be for 5 years. I don't know. But one day, and it may actually not be on this side of heaven.
Yeah.
And that's what's hard for us to actually put together. Is some of this fruit may never be received on this side. That's what's hard with suffering.
Yeah.
It's like we always want to make it through because we're going to get some great lesson or some practical application, or it's going to refine it, but sometimes it's just suffering and it stinks.
Mm.
And there's no magical message that I get from it
Mhm.
except keep going.
Yep.
Yeah, I do think there's always value, and so the more I ponder it, the more I read the word, the more I just experience in life. I think there is always some additional value to suffering.
Oh, it refines us.
There is, yeah. It just might not be evident, right? That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
like, and so oftentimes we get in trouble in the church. People in the church get in trouble because we try to immediately find this meaning.
The gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, well, this happened in your life so that this could happen.
Uh-huh.
And we're trying to help move people along the path of healing, right? Get you from the pain to being a valuable member of society, right? And sometimes it's just you just got to sit in the pain for a long time.
And you don't quit.
Yeah.
And that may just be, you look back and go, well, what'd you learn? And you go, God is good, even in the midst of all of that.
Mm.
And that's it.
Yep.
I didn't quit. I didn't throw in the towel. I didn't shipwreck my faith. You know, that may be, and there are other times, there are things that I've gone through that I can use and bring real legitimate life lessons, even to other people that I sit with and pastor and sit in their own suffering with. And there are other times, there's stuff I've gone through that I'm looking going, one day I think God will probably,
Use
he'll
this.
make,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
But I just look and go, I didn't quit.
Yep.
Okay. Right. I wanted to though. Whew, I was close.
Mm.
But something somewhere along the way, just, the spirit of God in someone else just
Yeah.
encouraged me just
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
to not quit and give up.
Yeah.
And I think Paul knew Timothy must have been real close.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, we don't.
Yeah.
There's riots and all this nonsense, right? And then, the funny side of what you're saying, right? The quip is the joke that I've heard so many times. Everything happens for a reason,
Yeah.
and sometimes that reason is that you're stupid and make bad decisions.
Yeah, that's for sure. That is for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. There's probably 90% of that is the reasoning. Yeah. But no, man, I think a great passage. Love the question. I love being able to, again, always helps with being good Bible readers to remember context and ask the Spirit, hey, okay, how can I apply this to my life? I get it. And that's the coolest thing is the word is living and active.
Yeah.
This is not a dead word. This is why when we read it 100 times, I can get 100 different things from it.
Mm-hmm.
I could pick a passage back up that I've super familiar with and go, man, I never saw it like that. That's the beauty of the Spirit of God in us, and then just the Word of God that promises to be alive and active when we give ourselves over to it, and it does this work in us. And so, yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
good. Awesome. Well, we hope you guys have a good week, and we're going to land it there. We'll see you guys Sunday. Bye.